Hi everyone, this is my second time finishing the 100 Epic Days Challenge, and I wanted to share with you what I learned this time around. First thing is 3 goals is way too many. When I started this, I made a big goal to create and finish my affirmation deck. I had a secondary health goal to do 6 ab exercises every day, and a third goal to strengthen my relationship with my husband by staring at him for 5 seconds a day. And this turned out to be very overwhelming. I stuck to my big goal. I did most of my ab exercises, but the third one just became too much. So I know next time I'm gonna make one goal and maybe have a secondary health goal because I think that kind of helped support me as I went. But it's definitely gonna be a small secondary goal. So that was number one. The second thing I learned was to seize the moment. So with my ab exercises, I noticed that I had this limiting belief that I needed to change into my workout pants, my yoga pants, in order to exercise. Because I have this kind of black and white, all or nothing attitude. And I learned that, I didn't have to do that through days and days of being like, oh, how am I going to fit this in my day? Why can't I just do a little bit now? What's holding me back? Really thinking about it, after 30 days, you get to kind of analyze what's going on there. And I realized it was my pants. I was worried about the belt loop on my jeans digging into the small of my back. And that's why I wasn't just pausing and saying, hey, why don't I do one set right now? So by the end of the challenge, I found myself constantly scanning the moment to be like, ooh, is my baby happy playing with a toy? Yes. Is my 6-year-old, busy doing something? Okay, go. This is a perfect time to get one set in. And I was able to do that over and over so that by the end of the day, I had, done half of my exercises. So seizing the moment was a big win for me and something I am carrying forward into my life forever now because of this challenge, which is amazing. The other thing I learned is that returning to the challenge, returning to your goal after a skipped day is so victorious, almost more so than if on the day that you actually did your goal. Because what you do when you return after you missed a day or after you did a cop-out day is you're really showing yourself, hey, this is important to me and I want to become the type of person that does this. So when you return and you do it and you get back in the groove, you're kind of reinforcing that connection in your brain that yes, we are doing this. No, we're not letting it go. And we are on our way to become that type of person that does the goals. So that was huge. Another one was that there's a difference in the type of challenges that people do. And I think the 2 categories are there's a self-discovery challenge and there's a project implementation challenge. And for me, the first time I did this, I think it was definitely a self-discovery challenge. I was trying to return to drawing after almost a 10-year break, having not done any personal artwork. I was terrified to start drawing. I was very timid. I didn't want to start, I was nervous. And after the days went on, I forced myself to do it. I got into a groove. I figured out a style that I liked, a theme that I liked, and I ended up making, a body of work that I was really proud of. And I said, hey, I can use this as I move forward. And I was really kind of coming home to myself and showing myself, what's possible in terms of, discovering myself again, I guess. And, I think a lot of people had those self-discovery challenges this time around who did it with me, where they were, exploring drawing for the first time. They were walking, walking was a big self-discovery for some people who, realized they needed that little motion in their lives, and it turned into other things. Like they ended up doing photography on their walks, or they ended up thinking or, making progress in their business because they were walking. That kind of self-discovery is one type of challenge. And then the other one is the project implementation. And that's what I did this time around with my affirmation deck, where I had a very specific thing that I wanted to do. It was a big project that I had to break down into pieces. I had to lay it all out, do a lot of planning before to say like, okay, here is I'm gonna start. And then at the end, there is a very specific result that I was looking for. That is a project implementation challenge where I said, okay, the 100 days is the container. I'm gonna do this project in that time. How can I break it down and get it done in little chunks of time throughout the day? There is a woman that did this challenge this time around who created a children's book during the challenge, something she had been meaning to do for 20 years, she said, and she finished it in this challenge, which I think is so incredible. So that's another example of a project implementation challenge. So just interesting to note, if you do this, there's two different ways you can go. Which one are you? And don't compare yourself to project implementation if that's not what you're doing. Another one I noticed was that at around day 7, there's this big itch to change your goal. It's like that first week when your mind is getting used to doing this thing and you're kind of like squirming in your seat, like, I want to do something else because like this is hard, but it's also becoming normal. And shiny object syndrome starts coming up and you want to kind of jump to the next thing. And I really encourage people in that moment, and I did it this time around, and I'm so glad I did, to stay in the box that you made for yourself, stick with your goal, and see it through to the end, because you'll be so surprised at what happens when you do the same thing over and over again. And there was one woman who really connected with that, who said in the beginning she wanted to do a painting a day. And around that day 7 mark, she was tempted to move on to something else, but because I mentioned it, she stuck with the paintings, and she ended up making over 100 paintings that she's going to now turn into a collection of cards. And, staying in that box, giving yourself those constraints, you surprise yourself with your creativity and what you can do in those limitations. So stay in the box is another one. Another fun thing is that I noticed after day 25, time flies. So when you take on this challenge, 100 days seems really intimidating, but it's actually, when you think about it, not really 100 days, because the first 25 days are the hardest. That's when the thing you're doing is becoming a habit and you're trying to get used to the new normal. But after that, it seems like you can't even keep track of the days, they fly by. And multiple people said, once we hit the 80s, that it just felt like it was going by so quick and they didn't want it to stop. And I felt that way too. So it's really not a 100-day challenge in my head. It's like a 25-day challenge to get yourself to that mark of like, okay, this is normal. And then you're just flying by and finishing it through. And it really did go by quickly for me and everyone else. Another one was the group accountability. I made a note, it was around day 30 or so, that I would have abandoned my affirmation deck had I not been accountable to a group. Had I not had our private Facebook group where I was posting every day and people were seeing my progress and I was seeing theirs and I felt like we were in it together. Had I not been posting on Instagram, had I not been talking to people about what I was doing, had I not kind of like created this theater around the 100 days and what I was doing, I definitely would have abandoned my project and moved on to something else, because there's so many things I want to do with these drawings. I have ideas to make them into animations, to make them into paintings. But because I was in this group and accountable, I stuck with my goal and I finished my affirmation deck. And I'm so, so glad that I did that. So there is just so much power in doing this in a group and holding each other accountable. So, I almost didn't do this in a group. I almost, it was very random, an intuitive thought when I said, hey, I should invite people to do this with me. I almost didn't do that. I was very scared to do that, actually, because I knew it would be extra work. I knew it would be something new to like put myself out there, to run a Zoom call and do breakout rooms and keep up with the emails and the posting. I was very nervous about taking that on. So I'm glad I did. So another one was leading the group. So that's kind of a build off of this. I learned I enjoy leading a group. That's new. I got, kind of good at it. I like it. It's something that I never would have thought this pivot would happen. I think of myself, I'm an artist. I draw, I paint, and I never would have gone down this road had I not followed that little like breadcrumb trail of curiosity of, what if I invited people to do this with me? And I'm so glad that I followed that curiosity, because now here we are, and now I know like this is what I want to do, and I actually think it might be my mission to do this, to help people follow through with goals, to form habits, to start something, to do something, to become the type of person that does it in this kind of like gentle achievement way, where it's not like so in your face, like crush it, do your goal. We have our cop out days, and it's a very like compassionate way to do this type of thing. And I'm realizing I have something to offer there, and I never would have thought that in a million years, which is just so amazing. So now I'm going to offer it twice a year. I have the next one coming up in mid-January. So very cool that I learned that about myself. And another one is that I can do hard things. This is something Leslie in the group brought up, and I loved how she said this phrase, I can do hard things, because I was so nervous about making my affirmation deck. I had so many reservations about, the format and all that, like bleed lines, what are those? Oh my gosh, I want to make a box, but how do you do that? And finding a printer and all those things. And it was hard. It was scary. It was overwhelming. But I showed myself in this challenge that, okay, yes, it is hard, but you just do what's in front of you, and then what's in front of you after you do that step, and then the next one. And here I am now, like with the actual cards. This is a prototype deck, but I showed myself I can do it. I can do hard things. And now this is, live on pre-order right now on my website. You can pre-order this deck, and I'm going to be shipping them out at the end of November. And I hope you do, because these are just really special cards, and I want you to have them. So I just want to thank everyone for following this journey. I learned so much about myself, so much about habit forming, so much about running a group and accountability and what needs to happen in order to make that work. And I can't wait for challenge number 3 for me coming up in January. I'm going to learn a whole new set of things. I still don't know what I'm going to do my goal about, but I'm thinking I have some ideas. And I hope you join me. The first day is January 19th. You can get on the wait list at epicbones.com. There's a 100 Epic Days drop down menu. Just go there and you can sign up to get on the wait list. I'm going to make some bonuses for people who do get on the wait list, and I'll be opening registration for that probably in November. So I am looking forward to what's next, and I hope you join me.